Let's go ahead and move on to number 3.
Tiana, run into the office, please. Tiana.
Okay, so number 3 is 2/3 n plus 17 equals 5/6. We've got 2 fractions there. What will we choose for the lowest common denominator to multiply every single piece by? Yes. Yes. 6 is right. The lowest common denominator of 3 and 6 is 6. So every piece gets multiplied by 6. Notice that for the fractions, I'm throwing a 1 underneath because obviously you're going to need to think about it that way in order to do your cross-canceling. Okay? The 3 and the 6 both cross-cancel by 3, and that becomes a 2. 17 times 6, if you want to get that item for me, that would be great. 102 it is. And these two are both divisible by 6. So, what you end up with, 2 times 2n is 4n, plus 102 equals, looks like 5. Am I right? Now that we've cleared the fractions, we are able to do the rest of the solution, which involves us adding or subtracting, and here we have addition, so we're going to do what, class? Correct. And you end up with 4n equaling what? 90 what? 97. Okay, very good. Negative 97. Okay, 97. If you divide it by 4, you end up with negative 24 and a fourth. Okay, and there's your mixed number answer. There's your mixed number answer. Your improper fraction answer would just be negative 97 over 4, right? Can't really reduce that by anything. Okay. Number 4, we're just doing some practice here. Practice, practice, practice. This is on your final for you high schoolers. You guys will see this, of course, on the test anyway. 2/5 equals 5/8 n minus 4. You might notice that in front of each thing I left a little bit of a space, and that's for me to accommodate the fact that I'm going to have to multiply by something here. What am I going to multiply by? Not 20. I think you were right. Yep, 40. 40 over 1. 40 over 1. 40 over 1. I'm going to throw a 1 underneath that there as well. Okay, let's do our canceling. These are both divisible by 5. The 5 becomes a 1 because 5 divided by 5 is 1. And the 40 becomes an 8 because 40 divided by 5 is 8. Both of these are divisible by 5. The 8 becomes a 1. The 40 becomes a 5. And over here, nothing gets canceled, so it's simply the product of 40 and 4. So, 16 equals 25n minus 160. Can we solve it from here? You bet. Sure we can. We sure can. We're going to add 160 to both sides. And you end up with 176 equals 25n. Perform your division. And you end up with n equals 7 and 1/25, or you could have left it as it was, 176 over 25. We divided by 25, the coefficient of n. Okay? Questions on this? Okay. Let's go ahead and then move on to number 6, because number 5 is the same thing all over again. Let's just go ahead and move on to number 6, where we deal with the decimals. This was clearing fractions. Clearing fractions by renaming everything, by multiplying by the lowest common denominator. The next couple are going to be decimals. By the way, the answer to number 5 was 3. Okay, the answer for number 5 was 3. Number 6, stay with me. 2 and 3/10 m minus 11 is equal to negative 29 and 4/10. Okay, Philip already explained how we clear. We look at the decimal with the largest amount of decimals being utilized. This one uses 1, this one uses 1. So we're going to multiply everything by 10 to the power of 1, which is what? 10. Awesome. I didn't leave spaces like I did before. Multiply that by 10, multiply that by 10, and multiply that by 10, which results in the decimal, whether visible or not, moving one position to the right. So I have 23m minus 110 equals negative 294. Okay? Add 110 to both sides. This is basic solving of equations. And you end up with 23m equaling negative 184. Awesome. Perform the division. And m equals what? Good. Negative 8. Awesome sauce. Okay, number 7. Number 7, the answer is negative 4. Number 7's answer is negative 4. But here's number 8. Here's number 8. Negative 1 and 2/10 m plus 1 and 25 hundredths equals 77 hundredths. Okay. The largest number of decimals showing is how many? 2. So we're going to multiply by 10 to the power of 2, which is what? Yep. Awesome. That means every decimal gets moved how many positions where? 2 positions to the, awesome. 1, 2. So that's negative 120m plus 1, 2 equals, okay, subtract 125 from both sides, and you end up with, say again?
Negative 48.
So 120 negative m equals negative 48. Perform the division of the coefficient of m, and you're going to find out that m is equal to what? Say again?
400.
You sure it's 400ths? 4/10 is right, and it's positive. Negative by a negative. Yes.
Instead of just moving the decimals over, can't we subtract 1
Absolutely. Yeah, and when I talked about this yesterday, I told you that this is a technique just to make these equations easier, but that doesn't mean they're unsolvable as they stand. Okay? It's just that by clearing the decimals, you end up with cleaner numbers, and you don't have to think about moving decimals when you divide by a decimal. Okay? But yes, you could certainly subtract 1 25/100ths and then divide by 1 2/10 negative, and you will definitely get the same answer. Absolutely. Okay, so for these two, we cleared decimals by multiplying by powers of 10. 10 to the first, 10 to the second, 10 to the third, if there were 3 decimals, right? 9 through 11 are the exact same thing, only you might end up having to flop around a less than or greater than symbol if you divide by a negative. All right? If you divide by a negative in 9, 10, or 11, that is the inequalities, you know that dividing by or multiplying by a negative causes you to have to flip the sign, okay, in order for it to still be true. None of these you had to flip the sign, right? Or did you? Maybe number 10, right? 10 you flipped it? All right, let's do number 10. This is number 10. 4/5 is greater than or equal to 2/3 minus 2/7 x. Okay, yikes. 5, 3, and 7. 5, 3, and 7. Lowest common denominator. Come on, y'all did them. 35? Come on, y'all did these. Right? What's lowest common denominator? Seriously, nobody did this problem. Say again? 105? Yeah, it probably is. We can check to see it, what the lowest common denominator is. By prime factoring them. So, what do they share? Nothing. That means the lowest common denominator is a product of all 3. Is it 105? Awesome. Good job. If they share nothing, then it's a product of all 3. Okay. Each item is going to get multiplied by 105. Cross-canceling where necessary. Each of these is divisible by 2, 21. Each of these is divisible by 3, 35. And 7, 15. Thank you. So 21 times 4, 84. 35 times 2, and 15 times 2. Correct me if I make a simple arithmetic error, guys. Looks like I have subtract 70. 14 is greater than or equal to negative 30x. Here it is. Dividing by negative 30 requires us to have to flip our sign. X now is greater than or equal to in terms of x. If I speak about x and I read that way, x is greater than or equal to whatever the result of this is. So is it negative? So both of them are by 2, negative 7/15 in reduced form. So if you wrote it this way, you have negative 7/15 is less than or equal to x, But if you refer back to x, you simply flip it around with the open mouth still facing the x, which means x is greater than or equal to negative 7/15. Do you guys see how these two things refer to the same thing, only you just flip-flop it? That's number 10. Okay. 9 was x is greater than 2 and 11/14. 11, x is less than 2 and 3/8.